Well, hey everyone, welcome to this class on AI Assistant, using AI Assistant for image generation. Real quick up front, this is not a AI Assistant 101 course. This is really, we're just focusing specifically on image generation and specifically using custom prompts to go beyond the default styles. The default styles are fantastic. They're one of the fastest, easiest ways to get a unique look for your images in Storyline and Rise with AI Assistant. But what we're going to do is we're going to play off of those custom prompts and use our own custom prompts generated by AI Assistant to create dozens of different styles and effects for our course images. So we're going to begin with just a quick refresher on how the image prompts work, the built-in styles, how the custom prompts work, and then from there, we're just going to start experimenting. So I think that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so with that, let me just jump into the course here. And I've got a walkthrough here. We'll just go through from start to finish. But the first thing we want to do is just look at the built-in styles real quick and just kind of get a quick refresher right there. All right, so I'm just starting here in Rise. Now, real quick, I'll probably say this a few times just to make sure. I know people jump around in the videos. This is going to work exactly the same in Storyline. From a teaching perspective, it's a little bit easier here in Rise just because I can show a little bit more text, and with the way the page scrolls vertically, it just gives me a little bit more room. I find it's a little bit easier to show this because I'm going to be going through so many different styles. But it's exactly the same in Storyline. So if you are a Storyline user, this is all, once we get into AI image, it's the same process. So I'm going to begin by just creating an AI image. So I'll click AI image. Okay, so here's the AI image window. You have a couple of parts right here. You have a description and a style. So we're going to add description. I'm going to kind of stick with the same description for the entire class. I'll say camping in the Southwest Desert. That's where I live. That's what I do. And then when you have your different styles. So if I don't choose any style, right, you can see the different styles down here, and you get a little preview of the image style with a thumbnail. One thing I'd recommend is take the time and then use the same prompt and then generate one of each of these styles and then just keep them in a toolkit like a Rise course or Storyline template file, just so you can see them. You can have them for reference. I mean, these thumbnails are super helpful, obviously, but a little bit small, and sometimes seeing it with your own content, unless you're working with a lot of tabby cats in spacesuits, you might just want to use something from your typical content that you use and then just generate an image style based on each of these, just so you have it as a larger view. You could also share that with your customers, clients, or anyone else that you're working with to build courses. So I'll just click None. The aspect ratio is going to be super important when you are working with different type sizes, meaning if I were using in Rise, if I were using the gallery view and they're more of a square, whatever's generated here is based on the actual aspect ratio. You could certainly crop a landscape to be a portrait or a square, but the composition overall is determined, is set up and created based on the initial ratio. So just keep that in mind. So I'll say generate image, and this takes just so fast to generate 4 images for us in just a few seconds. And then you can see the different styles that you get. So that's the photographic style, and then we could go through and then just try each of these other styles. So we say abstract expressionism. Now notice down here though, when we click anything besides none, that we get this description. So these are the prompts that our design team and engineers came up with. They're carefully crafted, and they actually have a very specific look and feel. And what's nice about this, and this is what really the kind of the essence of this whole class, is we're going to play off of what's automatically created. And so here's an abstract expressionist painting. And then you can see how different each of these looks. I can click view, to pop in here real quick. And then we can just go through each of the different styles, minimal, and see how these look. Now, for most cases, right, I would just stick with these when you're just getting started. But what happens is, with a lot of times that you're creating courses, you start to want something different, or you want something that doesn't look like everyone else's courses. And that's where that custom prompt field comes in. So this is the general idea for working with images. I'll do one more, and then we'll just get started. So I'll say generate. Let's take a look at the 3D animation. Notice how much more complex this one is. There's a lot of detail in here. And you also have the little option to copy that prompt. So here's what the 3D animation looks like. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead, and I'm just going to select one here, and I'm just going to choose a very basic one. And the reason is it's going to give us a lot of room as like a starting point to build on. So I'll say the vector blues, And this is it's a simple illustration. It's a simple style, but look how much is included in here. So I'm going to do something real quick. I'm just going to copy that prompt. So I'm just going to copy it, and then I'll choose generate again and let AI Assistant generate that version. I copied the prompt because what I want to do is I'm actually going to paste it into a paragraph field in Rise, so I have that as a starting point. And so you can see these styles. I actually love every one of these. They all look fantastic. There is a variation in them, even though the primary color is blue and it's flat. There's the blue color palette. You're going to get variation on it. This one doesn't have quite as much blue. This one has obviously a lot more blue, and so on. So I'm just going to say insert, and there's my image coming in, being inserted. Now what I want to do real quick is, just so I have this as reference, I'm going to change my block style, and I'm just going to say image and text, and I'll paste that in there. And I'm just going to highlight this part right here, because that is the essential style of the image, and then you can see how it then describes the sub pieces or the design elements of that type of illustration. But we're really just we're now working with the minimal vector illustration, and then we have more description here for the custom field. All right, let's just say prompt is the vector blues, just so we have it. All right, so there's our initial style, and we could continue creating different images from here. One thing that's really nice, and I'll just call this out, and this is going to work in Storyline the same way, is let's say that you built a course using, you didn't copy all the prompt off to the side, but what you did do was you weren't sure what the prompt was for the image. Well, watch this. This is pretty neat. So if I go to content and I come in and I choose to edit this image, so I'm going to edit the image with AI, replace with AI. Look at that. It shows my prompt that I'm using right there. That is so helpful because sometimes you come up with something. Actually, I like that one better, so I'll say insert that one. But that's a way you can get the initial prompt, especially if you're maybe working with teammates and they created a custom prompt, but they didn't document it, or maybe you were just working in a hurry and you didn't save everything. Totally understand that, because that's how things go. But now you can at least go back in and get that initial built-in style. So that's just a quick overview of how the built-in styles work for the images. All right, pretty cool, right? So this time we're going to just play off of what we just did, and this time we'll use the built-in. We're going to use the built-in prompt to just simplify the prompt. What it's going to do is just going to condense the description, the image prompt that we've been using in the last lesson, and just simplify it and remove some extra detail. And the benefit here is that normally the simplify command is used to make your writing easier to read for the learner. What we're going to do is remove some of the details from our image prompt, and then let AI Assistant have a little bit more freedom for how it creatively interprets this each type of art style. So let me show you how this one works. All right, so here we go. I have the original prompt, which was that minimal vector illustration that we have, and then our custom prompt is really just telling AI Assistant to replace the primary art style with a unique style, while preserving all other colors and descriptive elements. So the only thing that should change then is this initial part here in bold, right? Which is the initial art style, and there's all the descriptive text below. So let me make sure I copy that prompt. And real quick on the prompts, these are not literal, meaning if you come up with your own version of modifying a single element, absolutely fine. It's going to work in most cases. I did not have to spend a lot of time rewriting or playing with these prompts to get it to do what I wanted to do. So AI Assistant is so darn smart that you have a lot of flexibility with how you write your prompts, but you can use these as a starting point, as reference, and then just go from there. So the idea is I'm going to select all the text in here, Control A, and then I'm just going to open up and edit with AI, and then I'm use that prompt field here to drop in that custom prompt. So I have all these other options here, which are fantastic, but I don't have an option here that I want, so I say go ahead and replace the primary art style with a unique style, and let's just let that do its thing. And so this time is surrealist digital painting, and everything else should be the same, flat color blocks and so on. So I'll say replace selection, and this is going to be my new image prompt. So I'm going to select all that, Control C, and I want to edit to replace this image reflecting this new style. So we say edit the content, and in this first example, edit, and then we're going to replace with AI. And you can see it remembers the initial prompt that was used. I'm going to select custom down here at the bottom and select all that, delete it, and then paste in my new one, which should all be the same except for the surrealist description, the art style. And notice how we're also using the square aspect ratio because that is the most appropriate for the gallery view that I'm using. So I'll say generate again. Now, here's something that's going to be really important for working with these prompts. And I deliberately kind of started here with the modify one element and left everything in here. There's a little bit of competition here between what a surrealist painting looks like and then what we had for the minimal. So, didn't mean to do that. So in this case, we're not getting a true surrealist digital painting here because we're still giving all these other descriptive terms for a more flat minimalist design. And so you can kind of see that here. But I like this because it starts to show how these prompts work, and then when you're using descriptive terms, making sure that they don't contradict or cancel one another out. So I'm going to say insert image here just to get that one because we did move beyond the simple blue. But you can see that it's not that different, and this is something I wouldn't call surreal, but we did get something a little bit different, and we just continue on. Now, the next thing we want to look at, and you can see some examples here, pop art illustration, pencil drawing illustration, but we're still really in that flat color blocks, simplified geometric shapes style. So a better approach, or the approach that probably is more meaningful would be, let's just duplicate this. And then what I'm going to do is take all of this out of here and then ask AI Assistant to generate an image prompt for me. So I can select this and I can say, come down here and then say, create an image prompt. So now it's going to be more tied to or aligned with the actual primary illustration style. So I'm going to say insert below, just so you don't overdo that. And then I could go through each of those other options. So let's say, let's come back in here, get rid of all of that. And I'll select this one and do one more. So we'll say generate AI image prompt. Now, I'll show you one other technique that I like using. So I'll say insert below. Another thing I might do, or I will do, I have been doing, I would do, is I could take this silhouette, I'm just going to copy that, and then in AI Assistant, instead of having an image prompt, I might just say describe the visual design elements of silhouette illustration style, right? It's not even proper grammar, right? So that's fine. And so you're going to get a little different approach here, but I like bouncing back between using the AI prompt, image generation prompt versus describe. And so I could say insert below, and that's a lot longer, right? And so I can just still copy that and then use that. Because sometimes you're going to get, these might have, for example, right here, the foreground includes a small wooden bridge over the river. I may not want any elements that are specified. I want the camping, right? So that's what I'm focused on. So I would take things like this out. The foreground includes a wooden bridge, showcases shadowing textures, highlight natural beauty. Okay, so but see right here, this part of the description here with the image prompt is actually inserting. I'm sorry, I got to go a little bit faster here. Over the river showcases clouds, right? That's sort of adding elements that I may not want, right? That's fantastic if I just need something generic, but I don't. I already have a description up top for my image. So I'm going to delete that. And I also don't want illustration feature in a serene landscape. Again, I don't want that one right there. So this one actually isn't going to work as well for me because I don't want I don't want those elements to be shown. So let me do this over. I'm going to say describe in one sentence the pencil drawing illustration style characteristics. So this one, because of the way that looked, I don't think that's going to work. There we go. So pencil drawing, the style is characterized by intricate line work, varying shades of gray, and so on. And I'm going to say insert below. And so that's probably what I'd want to do in kind imagery such. And this one, again, did the speech bubbles. It's putting too many elements in there for me. So let's say pop art. So again, sometimes we get exactly what we're looking for. Sometimes we're just going to have to just tell AI Assistant more specifically what we want. Describe in one sentence And I'm keeping this short because I don't want a lot of extra detail. I want AI Assistant to really have more freedom to create those image styles. So in one sentence, the pop art illustration design style. And we'll let it see what it does here. Perfect. Insert below, and there we go. So what I'm going to do then is just leave. I won't worry about this one. So we'll just do these first two right here to see how that works. So I have a much more specific image prompt or description of the style that I want. But when I edit this, right, because the reason I don't want what the image generation prompt, the default one, did for me is I have a camping in the desert scene, right? So that prompt that was generated would be if you would drop it up top, because it combines both the description of the image scene, the setting, as well as the design elements, the textures, the colors, the materials, and the overall look and feel. But because I'm working with a custom prompt, I want the custom look and feel, the textures, the colors down here, but I want the description of the design element of the image elements up top. So that's the difference there. Did I copy that and paste it? I did not. Got to get out. I'm talking and not copying, so I'm going to copy it right here, edit, replace with AI, and then this time I'll come back in here. So this will be the pop art illustration, and then I'm just going to generate that again and get that. So just to, hopefully I didn't make that, there we go, look at that. I think that's fantastic. So this is far more what I consider a pop art. And then I'll do the second one real quick, and then we'll kind of compare that to the first one we came up with. Oh, I need to make sure I have the design style, the art style. So copy that, replace with AI, and I have to let it kind of, there we go, generate again. But the reason the pencil drawing illustration, shades of gray, right? Hatching a cross-reference. Perfect. So let's see which one we like. There we go. All right. So the reason let's come back in here and do this one all over again, because I just want to make sure, kind of compare and contrast. So I'm going to say silhouette illustration, and then I'm going to use the built-in generate an AI image prompt. And I'll say insert below. So what this one is doing, if you're going to use the AI image generation prompt, it's probably going to be best to use that without the custom prompt field. What do I mean by that? We'll come back into content edit, and we'll come back down and we'll say edit with replace with AI. Is I would come in, because that image prompt is not only has a description of the elements, right? So it says a striking silhouette with a dramatic sunset backdrop, flock of birds. It's given me all the description of the elements, but then it's also talking about the colors and the mood and the textures of that. So it's kind of combining both. So that's why with the built-in, I probably wouldn't use it as much unless I came in here and removed anything that had to do with the actual location, right? So dramatic sunset, because I really want camping. I want that camping theme. So I'd put all the sunset backdrop. I'd put that down here in the custom, and the things like trees or bushes or hills, I would have that up here in the description. So just kind of the difference between how those two work. But because we want to use we want the camping in the desert as our initial theme, I'm putting that up top in the description, and then I'm just worrying about the textures, the styles, the colors down below. But compare and contrast that with what we saw up here. These still have that flat design look, whereas now we're starting to get into some very custom looking images. And then you can see, I don't have them in this one. I guess in the next example I'll show you. But now we're starting to get a lot of diverse styles here, and we're using just a simple prompt to add a description for what each of these terms are. All right, pretty cool, right? So this time we're going to just play off of what we just did, and this time we'll use the built-in. We're going to use the built-in prompt to simplify the prompt. What it's going to do is just going to condense the description, the image prompt that we have that we've been using in the last lesson, and just simplify it and remove some extra detail. And the benefit here is that normally the simplify command is used to make your writing easier to read for the learner. What we're going to do is remove some of the details from our image prompt, and then let AI Assistant have a little bit more freedom for how it creatively interprets each type of art style. So let me show you how this one works. So the simplify is the built-in command, and it's usually most often used with just simplifying your writing, making it easier to read and comprehend. But we can also do it to create some variation in the prompts that we have. Because sometimes the image prompts, whether you're using the AI image generation prompt or you're saying describe this art style or this image style, it could be overly detailed, and you maybe don't want to have to go in and edit things out yourself manually. What we can do is I'll just duplicate this, and I'd come in here, select it all, and then just using the built-in drop-down prompt, simplify writing, and that's going to simplify it, and maybe even most likely use some simpler words, lower reading level type words, and I'll say replace selection. So we're saying features vibrant color blocks. Now we're just saying uses bright color blocks. So let's try that. I'm just going to select it all, copy it, choose edit content. And this is, again, just the kind of the way of just playing with this to find what works for you. But you have so much freedom here with this custom prompt and just playing off of what's already available, and then just modifying certain words there, or certain words or descriptions or adjectives in terms of how it's describing the color. So let's just say insert, and then we can kind of compare and contrast what that is. So it's not significantly different, but it's something a little bit simpler, most likely because we're simplifying the language, simplifying how this image is described. So that's another way that you can just work with the built-in prompts, but to get something a little bit different for your style each time. Again, I almost prefer a shorter, more condensed type description and letting AI Assistant really take more creative control. The longer definition, like we have in these examples, probably makes more sense when you really know what you want and you've kind of really trying to guide AI Assistant in terms of what colors, what textures, what materials, the different look and feel, and the lighting and the shading, all of those design elements, characteristics you want to control. But sometimes you just want to see what AI Assistant can come up with, and then let it fill in the blanks for you, and using just a simplified or more simple image generation prompt. All right, cool. Now hopefully you're getting an idea of how this all works with AI Assistant's prompt field. Yes, you have the built-in prompts from the drop-down, but you can use that prompt field to really tell it to do anything you want it to do. So what we're going to do now is take this a step further and let AI Assistant start to create some randomized prompts. And we're going to do that by swapping out all of our terms, our artistic terms, our adjectives, any descriptive words that we have in the description and for the prompt, and just use the opposites. So if something's bold, it's going to become flat. If something's thin, it's going to become bold or wide, right? And so we're going to just get some different results each time we run that prompt. But that's another way that we can play off of those initial styles that we started with and then just get something completely different. And again, if we like that style, then we just want to save that and use that in our, just save it to a text document to use for future use to ensure consistency throughout all the images. So let me show you how this one works. All right, so we're going to just apply the custom prompt to swap everything, reverse everything. And it's just, again, simple prompt. You don't have to be so literal. You can rewrite this several different ways, however you like, but AI Assistant tends to understand what you're doing in most cases. And we have these examples. We have pop art, pen erasing, outline illustration, and isometric. I'm going to duplicate this. And you could do it one of two ways. We can include the art style, or we can just select the details to apply. So we'll try both and just see how that goes. So bring open edit with AI, and we just want to rewrite the text by replacing words with their opposite or reverse meanings. So we'll see what we get right here. And this is kind of why I like doing this in Rise, because if we're duplicating the blocks with the images and text, I think it's a little bit easier. But again, this is all going to work exactly the same in Storyline. So I'm just going to replace the selection. I don't know what anti-pop art illustration is. This is why I may just, kind of work with the definition. So it features dull color and voids. And then let's try this one right here. And I'm just going to apply that same prompt. So we'll say reverse everything. And I'm still keeping it in the same art style. But I think a lot of times you'll see that it works just as well with swapping out that art style like that. So simple black solid areas. And then let's just try it all right here. Figures in. Looks like I have a little typo right there. So I'll select all and play with it. and see what we get, see if there's any difference here. Only because I don't know what an anti-pop art illustration is. So this one retained the actual title, but now we went from complex color gradients to simple color solidities and inorganic shapes. Cool. All right, so we have 3. We can work with the 3 right there. So we'll come in here, and I'm just going to copy each of these, and we'll see what we get. But again, so what we're doing now is really, I'd say, leveraging the real benefit of AI Assistant and AI in general by letting it take over and just play with or reverse or randomize all of these different terms. So I'll just say insert that one, and we'll keep going through these. And so we obviously could go through and write these out ourselves. And I think as you start to fine tune it, you may want to come in here and say, maybe just change that one to simple color gradients, and then leave something else a little bit more, complex or detailed. But right now we're kind of just leaning on AI Assistant to take care of everything for us. And I think we just did this 3rd one, and then replace that one right there. So just let that initially catch up, and we'll regenerate it based on outline illustration, which this one retained its same art style, but everything else got reversed, whereas the first example actually reversed the art style. Oh, this is fantastic. I think these look great. So let's compare and contrast what we had the first time. So you can see these two certainly do look opposites in terms of the color. This one has a lot less detail, right? So there's the dull color voids and complex forms. This one had the simple shapes. And then because we maintain the same title, outline illustration, a lot of that is the same, but notice how this one is simple color and inorganic shapes, right? So it's a much simpler version of it. I think, is that a bear mowing the lawn? It's like almost interesting. And then this one obviously has a heck of a lot more detail in the align. So just swapping the words with the opposites is a great way to see what AI Assistant can come up with. And again, another quick and easy way for you just to quickly generate new, unique styles that you may not otherwise be familiar with. All right, so we're going to do something similar this time, and instead of just the opposites, we're going to randomize everything. So we're going to use a simple prompt that just says randomize all the descriptive terms, all of the colors, all the textures, whatever's listed in that prompt, randomize it. So we don't know what we're going to get again, but this is another way to let AI Assistant kind of take the creative lead on this and help generate some new ideas for images. So let me show you how this one works. Okay, so let's take a look at how this one works. So we had our original prompt. So we're kind of just using the original minimalist vector. This is the Vector Blues minimalist illustration style. And then we have this randomization prompt here. So we're saying take the provided art and design description and replace each adjective, style, and technique with randomly selected art styles, synonyms, contrasting terms, and so on. And then draw from a range. Now, again, these prompts, you could, a lot of variation. You could just probably even put something in here, and I've done that before. It just says reverse all of the words, right? So just play with it. If you're not getting exactly what you're looking for, then you can, edit these to guide AI Assistant in the direction that you want. But I'm just going to just copy all of that and come on down here, select our default original prompt, and we'll see what we can do by randomizing it. And you can see some of the examples down below in terms of how it's going to really change everything. So we have surrealist collage, and we went from flat color blocks, simplified geometrics, to intricate organic forms, polychromatic color palette. Awesome. And then that's the general idea. We're going to copy this now, and the same process as before. We're going to edit and then replace with AI. And the randomization is actually one of my favorites, just because you do not know what you're going to get. Wait a minute. I thought I copied it. I got to get out of here. Control C to copy. Come back in here one more time. And why? It must be a problem with the keyboard, not copying. Copy. I copied it, right? Come in here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm under Vector Blues. I'm just so used to looking at the custom field. I can't edit these. All I can do is copy them. I need to come down. There we go. And now I can do it. I knew that my keyboard was working right. And now we'll generate, and we should get something more in that surreal style. Yeah. All right. Cool, right? And so there we go. And then I have some examples down here, and you can kind of see different ways that it came. So, and this came as like a dreamlike type description. So fantastic style. What is this? Charcoal sketch and the light representation. So a little simpler. What is that? A snake? And abstract. What else do we get? The surreal. That was a previous surreal. So there's the one we just got, and then this one is surreal illustration, pencil drawing. The shadow effect is pretty cool, and then the surrealist depiction again with this one. So just some ways that you can use that randomization to create those different styles. All right, so in this last section, I want to just kind of go through some additional things that you can do with it. I'm not going to go through the whole tutorial of building everything, but just playing off of what we've been doing this entire class, now we can use AI Assistant to look at really creating images or image styles or illustration styles inspired by famous illustrators, graphic designers, photographers, or even from famous movies. So we'll look at how we can use real-world examples or real-world artists and illustrators and movies to apply a similar look and feel to our course images. We're not copying anything directly, right? Because AI Assistant's not going to completely recreate it. But Ansel Adams, for example, has a distinct look with photography. Wes Craven has his own style for the cinematic colors and tones, those really muted, softer colors. So we can play off of that and create some custom images using pretty much anything. So let me just show you how this works. You'll have access to all the prompts and everything, so you can deconstruct it, but it's pretty much the same process we've been doing. So here's how it works. So I like this a lot because it gives you even more options, and you can play off of even familiar design styles. So the idea is the prompt needs to be modified however you want to create it, but create an image in the style of, and then using the artist's name. And then you're going to use AI Assistant to generate a detailed description of that artist's style. So if the first artist is, say, David Carson, graphic designer, then create an image in the style of David Carson and generate a descriptive, describe his, David Carson's graphic design style and overall techniques. So for the illustration style, again, because AI Assistant, a lot of these graphic designers use a lot of typography, and AI in general just doesn't do a great job of typography. You're going to have to make sure that if you generate that description, you remove any reference to typography. But we have Saul Bass's style, we have Paula Scher's, and let's see, Milton Glasner, and so on. So illustrations you can do, and then things like photography, right? So in this case, this was all on the Day at the Beach theme, so I kind of bounce between a few of these themes when I do these. But we have an Annie Leibovitz style, right? Those little dark shadows, those color tones. Ansel Adams, right? So if you wanted to give your course an Ansel Adams type theme, Steve McCurry, Cindy Sherman, so on. And then even from cinematic perspective, right? I always love the color palette that Wes Craven uses, so you could kind of play off of that. Film noir could be something there. A Tim Burton type style course could be also used. And then even typing in certain movies. So I just typed in a Blade Runner Cyberpunk and got kind of those colors, those light themes right there, the Day at the Beach with those colors. So you have a lot of options right there. Just let AI Assistant take it from there. And then once you have these prompts, right, then you just need to save it to a notepad or a Google Doc, and then you have that to use going forward. One last thing in the resource guide you'll have is, I just put this together because as I kind of play around, I like to style these. So kind of group these into professional paintings. And if you aren't familiar with these styles, I can tell you I didn't know all these styles. I just simply used AI Assistant and said, create a list of 20 artistic and graphic design styles. So just generated a paragraph, a list of 20 different artists and styles, or artistic and graphic design styles, and then each one of these was one of those that was generated. And then I said, just give me a one sentence description of the characteristics of that style. And look at, AI Assistant just knocks these out so well, right? There's the charcoal sketch, which I certainly like, and then the ink wash illustration. I think this might be one of my new favorites next to the lino cut. Where's my lino cut? I've had it somewhere around here. Pointillism. It's so stinking cool. Oh yeah, the lino cut. This has been my ongoing favorite, right, with this style. And then we have the woodcut illustrations, silk screen, and stencil art. And so these are all styles that you could use. Cut paper illustration, right? That layered effect when you have the different layers of the paper laid on top of it. Pattern-based, moon print, vintage etching. And then the digital style. So you can kind of look through these and use any one of these prompts as a starting point for your own projects. So 3D rendered, silhouette illustrations, minimalist art. So any one of these would be great. And then you've got all these variations then for creating your own custom type courses and having your own unique, visual style for any type of project that comes up. All right, folks, there you have it. There's just some ways that you can experiment, play, and really generate your own unique look and feel with AI Assistant. So those built-in prompts, fantastic, good place to start. But when you want a little bit more, just open up that custom prompt and really create whatever you want. And also using those built-in styles as a starting point. Those are carefully crafted styles, so just use those as a starting point and then use your own style or inspiration, or even let AI Assistant generate something completely random and unique for you. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you hopefully soon. Bye.